This video is done, but this bridge is still going up. Alright, so today we're going to be focusing on design. Specifically, the important role that design played in the 1968 Olympics. For some people, especially people involved in design, this is the only reason that they're taught about and think about the 68 Olympics. What we'll also mention is two other important milestones that occurred during those Olympics. First, the Black Power salute by John Carlos and Tommie Smith.
To win gold medals for one's country and still feel a second-class citizen is the bitter paradox facing many colored Americans.
This was a huge milestone for the civil rights movement happening concurrently at the same time in the US. The other story, and probably the most overlooked, is the 68 student massacre in Mexico City.
En el verano de 1968, estudiantes mexicanos toman las calles de la capital.
Just a couple months before the Olympics. So we're going to discuss all three of those, but paying a little bit more attention to the design aspect because that's the podcast I just listened to, and you can listen to it too if you want to. Just check out the description. Anyways, let's go for a little walk and talk about design, race, and politics, and how these all meshed or came together during the 1968 Mexico City Olympics. So I've got my bike with me too, so that might be the noise you hear. Some other milestones that I didn't mention about these Olympics. Mexico was the first Spanish-speaking country to host an Olympics because between the 1940s and 1960s, Mexico was experiencing great economic growth, and some people would say that was a blessing, and other people would say that it was a curse. Either way, this was the main reason that Mexico City was picked to host the Olympics. As I mentioned, as I alluded to, design also played a revolutionary role in these games. And this is something that would be co-opted as well by another group not involved with the Olympics, protesters, mainly student protesters in Mexico City. But before we talk about that, I just want to give a little history about the Olympics and design. Up until '68, design had played, at best, second fiddle to everything else that was going on during the Olympics. It wasn't important. Nobody really cared about designing logos, icons, and branding as much as they do now. So the Mexican government held a design contest, and the guy who ended up winning was Wyman, an American designer. What the government wanted was a, quote, safe, fun, and exciting design. Something to really change the modern perspective of Mexico City as a dangerous, dark place. So this American designer, never been to Mexico, really has no idea, so he's looking for his inspiration. He goes to all these museums and World Heritage sites, the pyramids. What he finds are a lot of similarities between this optic art trend going on in the US. It gives birth to his unique, almost legendary 68 design icons. Oh, we got some guys down here. So what's the result? The government falls in love with his design. It's worth noting that the government really didn't consider any Mexican designers for this project. So a lot of people were already upset by the lack of representation for Mexican artists, Mexican designers. Anyways, the government has fallen in love, and they plaster the logo and the icons that he's created everywhere. It's said that you couldn't go anywhere in Mexico City without finding his logo or some sports icon somewhere. So with his design, Wyman was the first person to give each sport and cultural event their own icon. And we see this all the time now, with these special mascots, sports icons, and taxis. Wyman was the first person to design individual icons for different sporting events and cultural events, which of course would be bizarre nowadays because the mascots for each Olympics is probably the most well-known and scrutinized part.
Wenlock and Mandeville know that it's time to go.
However, the political situation, especially political oppression happening in Mexico through the 1960s, is not something well known. It's a dark, overlooked period in Mexican history.